Hey, I'm Brianna Régine, an award-winning brand growth strategist for entrepreneurs and decision makers who feel stuck and are ready to get strategic about reaching their next level. But let's be clear. In this podcast, we ditch the highlight reel and get into the raw, real stories of what it takes to build a brand from the people making it happen. No more perfect perceptions of success, no more unrealistic expectations, no more feeling powerless. This is your go-to space for the real deal Holyfield about business growth, full of obstacles, funny stories, real talk, self-reflections, hot takes on current events, and must-have tips. If you've got a fresh idea brewing, you're a sucker for new strategies and insights, or you need to be reminded of how freaking dope you are, this podcast is for you. Let's get into it. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brand Unveiled Podcast. I am back today with a solo episode. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Jasmine Jackson. If you have not seen it yet, please go and do that. She is a highlighted Black woman entrepreneur, a part of our Black Women Entrepreneurs of America campaign. And she talks about her business, especially getting it started in the pandemic, boundaries, how she's cultivating community and trying to be mindful of diversity and inclusion in the state of Wyoming. So it's a very interesting episode. Today's episode is one that I feel is a part of my vulnerability as far as sharing the latest, epiphanies or just my latest vulnerabilities that I've come to realize over the past year or so. It has to do with perception. Okay. This episode actually came to mind by me really embracing the fact that there are some industry peers of mine who I feel like pay me dust. And it's not because I necessarily feel like I'm entitled to their responses, or that they owe me something. And I am the first to know how busy everyone gets. But I still feel a sense of, why aren't you engaging with me in the same way that you used to engage with me? And is it something that I did? Like, something about it is, I'm taking it personally. So that's really what this episode was inspired by. And I know I'm a pretty confident person, and I don't care about what everyone thinks, but I do find myself caring about what the right people think. And generally, outside of these very few industry peers, generally, I really only care about what my parents think, what my siblings think, my friends think, my close ones. I care about what they think, but even in that sentence, it's more so I want to make them proud. I don't necessarily hold their thoughts and their opinions so heavily that it prevents me from taking action on something that I really, really want to do. At least I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe at some point that was the case, for sure, when I was younger. But now, if I have my mind made up about something, I'm going to do it. And I'll hear your opinion because I love you. But it's not necessarily going to change how I navigate a particular situation. So that's generally. I think the few people, and it's really only a few, the few people that I care about what they think, it's more so me questioning like what happened, as far as when I felt the engagement between us was more authentic, versus now where I'm wondering if they think it's fake. And this is also like in my head. It's so wild because when I watch reality television and I watch the drama outside of the production that plays a part in it, I'm like, first of all, one, how old are y'all? But that's another conversation. Two, it's like half of the drama that you see in these reality TV shows, or even you hear about on TikTok stories and among friend groups, it's because people make stuff up in their head and they don't really express how they really feel, or they don't know how to articulate it, or they don't know how to disassociate someone's perceptions from the reality of the situation. So it's so interesting how I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I feel like it's honest. Like, I'm not the only confident boss, proud of who I am, super grounded, self-aware person out there that has like the other voice on their shoulder that's like, do they like me? And it's just so interesting. I think, there's a natural ebb and flow that comes with professional connections for sure, but it still stings to a certain extent, which is interesting because I'm like, well, if they don't like me, or if I think they don't like me, I'm perceiving them in a particular way too. So it's sort of like, if they don't like me and that's true, it's like, well, why don't you don't like me? You don't really know me like that, right? And I think this also stems from something that B. Simone is actually being really vulnerable about in her podcast, Let's Try This Again, where she's navigating validation. And this is interesting because I remember one of my first therapy sessions, like 5 or so years ago, where she basically told me that you shouldn't get validation from outside forces. You should only be getting validation from yourself. And that changed my whole mindset as far as where I was placing validation in. I was placing validation in my work and the results I was able to get from my clients and how people perceive my ability to produce. And I'm sure I did it in different aspects of my personal relationships as well. And B. Simone, I'm paraphrasing, but it appears that this is something that stems from her childhood and wanting to be a people pleaser. And she also talks about wanting to be liked, especially giving her platform as an influential talent, and her being canceled before and how that was kind of damaging to her. And she wants to be liked, like she cares about that. And I think that's really honest, because if you look at someone like her, you could think, yeah, she's confident as well, but there is that sense of wanting the internet validation. I don't think, for me, I'm there as far as caring about what the entire internet thinks. Again, I think it's only a handful of people. And I'm not talking about the general friends, family that I care about their opinion. If there's anyone I'm going to care about, it's them. It's not my general group. It's a select few of individuals who are in the same space as me, or who I would like to think I'm in the same conversations that their names are being dropped in. Like, it's sort of like a inspirational thing for me, because these same people that I feel like pay me dust these days are the same ones that I speak their name into rooms. So I'm not jealous or envious or anything like that. I am just wondering what happened, and was it a change on my part, because I haven't been as vocal about my productions lately as far as my work results, and I've kind of just been living life and showing more of my personality and not being so online all of the time. And that's the only kind of pinpoint I have as far as when I noticed engagement started to change. It's almost like when I was on social media and you actively saw like all the things that I was doing more in real time, I just felt like the engagements were different, perhaps because I was the inspirational, individual. They wanted to be in the same rooms and perceived in the same way as me, maybe. And then when it seemed like that perception started to shift and I wasn't showing up online as much, now it's kind of like, which also brings me to like character. I'm so big on character, and that's the one thing that can probably get under my skin. Like, if I don't care what people think, when I do, it's because I'm wondering if they think a certain way about my character. I take that very seriously. And for me, it reminds me of when I first started, especially in entertainment, but honestly, as a millennial business owner, you're sometimes one of the youngest people in the room making decisions at the table. And people would try and size me up or create whatever perceptions they had about me. And for me, I always went about it as like, no, I'm dealing with human beings. So instead of, for example, me just sending you a pitch and getting straight to the point, I am going to take the time out to ask, like, how are you? Or find something personal that I've seen you post on social media and mention that in an email and or in person. And those things are tactics, like they do work, but sometimes I would wonder if it was being too nice, or trying to be too personable when people just want to get down to business because either they've been scorned, is that the word? Scorned, scarred, hurt before, when navigating the industry, and wondering if they've been too nice or taking advantage of because they're too nice, or if they just don't give a damn. Like maybe they're just mean, cold people, and they don't have the personable approach. I don't know, but that also has been like a thought in my mind. Like, is my genuine niceness, kindness, care for other human beings beyond just wanting access to them? Because that's not really what it is for me. It's me genuinely wanting to build connections. Does it feel forced in some way? Does it not come across as authentic? Or if it did at one point, what made that change? Like, again, and this is all in my head. This is all in my head because I don't have any solid proof of like, oh, this person did answer me, other than the fact that they left me on red. But even that, it's like two sides of every coin. It's the damn, they left me on red, but I leave people on red all the time with the intention of going back to respond to them. At least that's me. Like, I always try and respond to people, even if I don't do it at that moment in time. So they're busy. That makes sense, or they saw it and they don't give a damn. I don't know the truth, but I do have like these circulating thoughts because I care about what that particular person thinks of me and my character. It's very interesting, and I don't know if I can put this in a bow as far as like, this is what I'm going to do to stop placing validation or wanting, these 3, 4, 5 people to think certain of me. Like, it's less of action steps, is more so just me telling the truth. Confident people want to be, I don't know if the term is embraced, but we want to be liked by others that we also deem confident and that we also find inspirational and that we also think are doing dope shit, you know? But that can't be forced. And even in the moments when your interactions were genuine to you, for whatever reason, those engagements changed, that doesn't mean that you were forcing it. It could be that they experience something or some things in their life that is making them navigate situations differently. And I feel like it's human to take that shift personally, but I will say don't get stuck in that. Don't get stuck in that. Like, this episode is definitely a conflict of the minds. Like, on the one hand, this, on the one hand, that, which is typically how I think, Libra, I guess, and therapy. Hello. But yeah, confident people want validation too. Confident people want to be seen too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's complex. Validation and wanting to be authentic and being confident and yeah, but I want you to think about like who are the right people in your life whose opinion matters to you. Who's your general group of people that you care what they have to say about you to the extent that their opinion holds more weight than anybody else in the world versus the other group of people where you are inspired by them. You hope that your work and how you show up professionally goes head to head. Like it's in the same sort of conversations, it's perceived the same way. And how do you balance being liked with staying true to your values and true to yourself? Yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got. Food for thought. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Brand Unveiled podcast. I always love to hear and see your comments and your likes, your shares, subscribes. Please share this with someone who is confident, you deem as confident, but wants the entry, the sign that they too, whoa, the smoothie, the sign that they too want to be seen. And that's okay. It's okay. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.